Florida getting rocked with some flooding, not from a hurricane or tropical storm, but from king tides that we've been tracking this week. While the big threat for coastal floods begins to wane after today, we still can expect to see elevated tides along the eastern seaboard into late this week, potentially even going into the weekend. So really, yesterday, today, and even somewhat tomorrow are going to be the worst of the impacts from this king tide. Now, some of the areas that will be impacted the most by this, anywhere from Miami Beach all the way up towards the Outer Banks. So Cape Hatteras, I'm watching you, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Miami, Florida. Those are all low-lying spots that already can be vulnerable to just a full moon when high tide gets a little more exacerbated. But in addition to a full moon, we also have the moon in perigee, so the closest that it will be to the Earth. And that also helps to enhance the gravitational pull, making those high tides even greater. So for the king tide flooding, in addition to that, we also have this high pressure that's sitting just off the Atlantic coast. And that's creating this consistent onshore flow of wind. And so it just bottlenecks all of the water right up against the coast, especially if you are near a bay or an inlet. All that water gets shoved in. And then even if you don't have a beachfront property, you could still see the chance for some flooding at high tide, especially for some of these tidal rivers as well. We've been watching the St. Johns River specifically too, Craig, over the last couple of days where the water's getting almost reversed in the way of its flow because it gets just shoved in there. But yeah, moderate coastal flooding, beach erosion likely, and beach erosion's been a struggle this year.
No kidding. And as we watch some of the king tides, here's a good explainer. You talked about the alignment of the moon, the sun, and the earth. The higher, it's going to be a higher than normal high tide and a lower than normal low tide, a good spread, 6 to 8 feet in some cases. And having said that, it's due to that gravitational pull of the lineup. So it's amazing how not only do we talk about we're connected on Earth with our weather patterns, but in a sense, we're connected to our, celestial, our planets, exactly. So when we talk about some of those wind gusts, we've had that persistent onshore wind. That's no help. And to your point, Haley, the St. John's is trying to dump all of the water back into the Atlantic. It runs from south to north. But guess what? All of that water is getting pushed back into the river. So it's a constant battle. And right now, the sea salt from the Atlantic is winning and pushing the fresh water back down. So it's kind of flooding out. It has nowhere to go but to the Outer Banks and spills over its banks.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point yesterday that it, drops 30 feet?
30 feet and 300 miles.
Exactly. And so it is a very flat river, and that also is a problem for it overflowing quickly or turning into a minor or moderate flood stage. So we've already got some spots, those little dots indicative of action and moderate stage. We'll be sure to keep one eye open for those spots over the next couple of days with king tide still being an issue.
For sure.